On the evening of my company's grand opening, every seat set aside for my kin remained unoccupied. Instead, they were at my brother's card game night. As I secured the premises, an unfamiliar man extended his hand. "We're interested in investing a substantial six-figure sum." The next morning, my phone displayed 89 unanswered calls from my mother. But before replying, I reached a resolution. It was meant to be the most significant night of my existence, the kind you envision while toiling quietly, hoping your relentless effort might finally hold value. For 2 years, I poured every ounce of myself into this venture, my eatery. No backers, no borrowings, just me. I scrimped every cent from catering jobs and side gigs while enduring 12-hour shifts in kitchens most couldn't handle for a week. I lived modestly, worked tirelessly, and never let anyone dissuade me. I wanted the opening to be a tribute to those who raised me. We weren't wealthy growing up, but I believed love was always plentiful, or so I thought. I reserved 23 places for them, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and naturally my brother Ryan. I personally arranged their name tags. I covered all costs, meals, drinks, even transport if needed. No excuses. This wasn't merely a business debut, it was my life's work coming alive. All I wanted was for them to witness it. That morning, I sent a message in our family chat. "Tonight's the big night. It wouldn't mean as much without you all." They replied as if all was well. My mom even sent a lengthy text about her pride, complete with emojis. I saw no warning signs. At 6:00 p.m., the doors swung open. By 6:45, we were packed. A lively crowd filled the space. I greeted patrons, posed for photos, shook hands, and tried to stay composed. But every few minutes, I'd glance at the corner tables, still marked, reserved, and untouched. By 7:15, nothing. I told myself they might be delayed, perhaps planning a grand group arrival to surprise me. By 8:00, I knew. I stopped checking. The staff asked if they should seat others there, but I told them to leave it. I couldn't admit they weren't coming. By 9:00, the place grew quieter, the final guests departing. I lingered in the back, pretending to check stock to avoid conversation. At 9:48, I stepped outside to lock up, drained and humiliated. Then a man approached, middle-aged, in a gray coat, polished but not ostentatious. He looked at me like he knew my story. "You Jack, yeah. You built this." "Yeah," he extended a firm handshake. "Impressive work, very impressive. We've been observing your progress discreetly. We're prepared to invest, serious funds, 6 figures if you're open to it. Call me tomorrow." He handed me a card and left without another word. I stood there, stunned, not even glancing at the card. My phone vibrated. I looked down. 89 missed calls, all from my mom, no texts. That's when I realized they'd been at Ryan's poker night. Every one of them. They skipped the debut of my life's work for his trivial weekly game. Before re-entering, before switching off the lights, I made a choice. I'd hear their excuses, but I was done pretending their absence didn't matter. I didn't call her back that night. I stayed at the restaurant, sitting in my office with the lights off, listening to the faint hum of the fridge and the street outside. Eventually, I lay on the leather bench in the hall and dozed off. Not true sleep, just an exhausted void. When I awoke, it was past 9:00 a.m. My phone was dead. I plugged it in behind the bar and went to brew coffee, but the machine reeked of burnt espresso from the night before. Staring at it, I felt disappointment morph into something else. Not anger yet, but clarity. When my phone powered on, it showed a barrage of missed calls. Mom, Ryan, 2 cousins, a voicemail from my aunt. I ignored them all and called only my mother. She answered instantly, as if glued to her phone. She didn't ask about the opening or apologize. She just launched into an excuse, claiming they were at Ryan's, that he'd promised to stream the event on his TV so they could support from home. Then it turned into poker night. They got swept up, she said, because it was fun. I gripped the bar, listening, realizing how easily they'd turned my monumental night into a casual gathering, as if I were insignificant. She started crying, saying they felt terrible and wanted to come by that evening with cake to celebrate, take photos, and post online to show support. I said, "Sure, let me know when." Then I didn't open the restaurant that night. Let them stand there with their sheet cake and plastic forks, wondering where I was. The next day, around noon, I was cleaning a counter when Martin, my parents' neighbor, walked in. A retired busybody, he always knew everyone's business and didn't hide it. He grinned like he had a scoop, congratulating me on the investor. He'd seen the handshake from across the street while walking his dog, overheard it all. I told him nothing was finalized, that it was private, and I wasn't ready to discuss it. He nodded, promised silence, then asked if I'd name a dish after his dog. 2 hours later, my cousin Jessica texted, "Heard about the investor, that's incredible, so thrilled for you," with a smiley. 5 minutes later, Ryan called. I didn't pick up, he texted, "Let's talk, we've got plans, this could be huge for us all." That phrase, "for us all," stuck. Now it was a collective venture. With money on the table, it was suddenly a family triumph. They were already carving up something non-existent. I spent the day watching texts roll in. My aunt proposing a monthly family tasting, my uncle asking about franchising, a cousin inquiring about jobs if she needed a change. No one mentioned poker night or the empty seats. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened a new spreadsheet and began listing names, words, and every person who didn't show. I wasn't angry or emotional anymore. I was done pretending we were the same, and I knew what was next. They'd start asking for favors. It began subtly. My Aunt Karen arrived the next afternoon with wine and 2 bakery pies, claiming she was just passing by. She didn't mention poker night or the opening, just complimented the place and asked if I'd considered a brunch menu, mentioning her neighbor's 16-year-old daughter who loves food and needed work. I said we weren't hiring. She lingered 10 minutes, left the pies, coconut and banana, neither of which I eat, and said, "Remember who's always been there for you." 2 days later, Ryan showed up unannounced, giving me a long hug and a back clap, saying he was proud. I stayed quiet, wiping clean glasses behind the counter. He brought up the investor, saying he'd heard it was a 6-figure deal and we could scale, maybe open another location soon. I didn't correct him. Then he revealed his motive. He and his wife needed a bigger house, but rates were tough. "If we team up," he said, looking me in the eye, "I could handle expansion, you focus on food, and we both win." I paused for a minute, staring. He kept talking legacy, partnership, until I said I'd consider it. He left grinning. That night I stared at the name cards still in a backroom drawer. Ryan, Mom, Karen, Uncle Eid, all neatly printed as if they'd shown. Martin texted again, checking in, asking to bring his book club and mentioning my mom's plan for a big family dinner to post online. I didn't respond. By week's end, 3 more relatives visited, one with a kid, asking if I'd cater her sweet 16 as a family gift, another pushing her husband's craft beer for the menu. None apologized or mentioned their absence. I kept listening, letting them talk because I'd already decided my next move. I wouldn't confront or yell. I'd let them build their illusions, then shatter them. 2 weeks post-opening, I found my mom at table 6, sipping coffee like a regular. She'd never visited, not even during construction, but now she claimed the spot. Coat on the chair, purse on the table. She waved me over like staff. I sat. She said the place had good vibes, then pulled out a spiral notebook with ideas, loyalty programs, merch, t-shirts with my face, Mom's favorite dish. She said, "If you're serious about longevity, you need a trusted team," listing cousins, in-laws, friends to keep money in the family. I nodded. She left a $5 bill like a customer. I left it there. Days later, the investor called for another meeting. At his downtown office, 2 suited men joined, handing me a folder with a detailed proposal. Licensing, expansion, a second location, major funding. It wasn't just 6 figures, closer to 7, depending on scope. I agreed, not immediately, but after 2 days of reflection, realizing those who claimed to love me most only valued me when a stranger did. When I shared the news, they celebrated, not for me but for themselves, assuming it meant something for their wallets, projects, comfort. My uncle recalled his logistics experience. Cousin Josh wanted podcast sponsorship. Mom texted about keeping blessings in the circle. Then, unexpectedly, Ryan arrived one night before closing with his wife and a stranger, a tense woman. After small talk, he confessed. Poker night was his idea. He told everyone not to come, saying I'd be too busy, that it was a soft opening, that the real launch was later. He admitted he didn't want me in the spotlight, tired of me being the golden one, claiming I made him feel small. His wife said he'd been drinking, but he continued, saying he gave me the restaurant idea, so it was his victory too. Then he asked for equity, ownership, not a job. I said I'd think about it. They left smiling. That night I printed my decision, a concise, final letter. I didn't send it yet, but it was ready because I was done letting them claim my work. I invited them to dinner via the family chat, saying I had big news to share first. Responses flooded. "Can't wait, we knew it. So proud, Jack." Suddenly I was their ticket again. They arrived dressed for a gala, Mom in church pearls, aunts in matching scarves, Uncle Eid with his old camera, Ryan last, hand on his wife's stomach like guarding the investment. They filled the once empty tables, laughing, clinking glasses, acting like they'd always been there, taking selfies by the chalkboard sign. Thank you for being part of the journey. I let them feast. No shortcuts, full appetizers, mains, desserts, wine, all free. They praised the decor, lighting, food, waiting for my speech. I felt their anticipation. They thought this was their moment too. Then I placed white envelopes on the center table, one per person, and spoke. Ryan opened his first, reading quickly, then again. His face froze. He understood. The letter stated the business was mine alone. The investment was signed, expansion underway. No partners, no family hires, no shares, no roles ever. The only exception, a one-time $1,000 gift for Ryan's wife for their unborn child, not them. I told them calmly, don't try, don't visit, don't pitch, don't ask. They chose that night, now I chose. Silence fell. Mom cried, calling me cruel, saying it was just a mistake. Karen called me ungrateful, saying family helps despite rocky times. Uncle Eid laughed, saying I'd regret it, that money fades but family lasts, as if I'd been the one absent. Josh asked if I was joking. Ryan just stared, letter in hand, his wife touching his arm. Then Martin appeared, uninvited, hovering by the entrance, probably drawn by the cars. Mom glanced at him like he was her witness. I told them to finish their meals, I wouldn't stay. I left through the back and didn't return until morning. They left, no thanks, no note. I had what I needed, every face, word, fake smile etched in memory. When the real money came, I knew my next steps. They didn't call the next day or the next. I expected backlash, a group call, a dramatic visit, a guilt-laden letter from Mom calling it a misunderstanding. But nothing. The family chat, once buzzing with birthdays, whether poker nights, chain prayers, went silent. No memes. It was like a switch flipped. At first, I thought I'd need to keep reinforcing boundaries, bracing for manipulation or guilt. But they weren't ashamed of missing my opening. They were ashamed of missing the payoff. Realizing there'd be no share, they didn't just retreat, they vanished. I kept working. The restaurant thrived post-announcement. Locals, foodies, travelers came. Press followed. The investor delivered fast. We opened a second location, then a third, sooner than imagined. I gave raises, hired from within. My early line cook now leads the kitchen. My delivery guy who once biked through snow runs the new site's operations. No relatives, no favors, no old friends begging for a chance. I kept it clean. Then a package arrived, no return address, hand-delivered. My mom's handwriting. Inside, a photo, me and Ryan 7 or 8 on our old house's steps, ice cream dripping, me stained, both smiling, dirty, sunburnt. A forgotten moment until now. Taped to the back. Don't forget your roots. No apology, just a nostalgic jab to soften me. I didn't break. I kept the photo, not tearing or burning it, but filing it away. I didn't need to prove anything. My work stood alone, with or without their approval. Weeks later, a friend from the neighborhood said Ryan and his wife were struggling, her job loss, mortgage spikes. Another said Mom was telling people I'd changed since the money. I didn't respond or gloat. I kept moving. They never grasped that I didn't build this to outshine them. I just wanted to matter to them. Now I didn't need to. Their silence wasn't loneliness, it was peace, and I earned every moment of it.